You know, we did. We altered. We not only altered the way this country, the industrial aspect of this country, but we also altered its culture and its society, because at that moment, women entered the workforce, and it's never stopped, and we've never looked back since.
Nope.
So, I mean, in many regards, so much came as a result of this war, but also of this particular war effort. Hugh?
We saved the United States and England and the rest of the world, really.
I know.
I don't claim to take too much credit for that.
You're welcome.
Oh, you should. Everybody was out there. And you know, I was very moved, sir, to hear you mentioning the names of your friends who have been gone these 70 years. But
it is, and again, and all the more reason why I want to chat about this relative to Memorial Day, because you have experienced firsthand that ultimate sacrifice. Hugh, I've got to go back to a question I failed to ask earlier. The moment you were torpedoed, what was it like aboard the Alexander Hamilton?
Well, everybody was excited, didn't know what had happened really, but the ship rolled quite a bit upon being hit, and we fell from one side to the other when it was rolling backwards and forwards, you know, and all you could do was say your little prayer. I forgot what I said now, but it was some kind of short.
It worked?
It worked.
And how long were you in the water?
I was not in the water. I stayed on the bow. Me and Nathan Robinson, Atlantic, we were on the watch of the #1 gun right under the captain.
Right.
And we wanted to get off, and he says, "No, you go when I go." So we were the last. You were the last ones off of the ship that day when the destroyer Gwynn came alongside, and we jumped over on the bow of it.
How long were you aboard the ship and first off, when did the torpedo strike? It was
13 minutes past 1. 12 minutes past 1 o'clock, which is 1300.
1300. Yeah. Okay, so in the middle of the day, as it were.
Right.
And how long were you aboard the bow at that point? When you finally?
We stayed on it about 2-3 hours, something like that.
Ah.
Turned the flag upside down and run it up, and the Gwynn saw what was going on, and we fired the guns, 350 guns, you know.
I got to ask, did you doubt your survival?
Oh yeah. You just live in the moment, and that's all you can say about it. You know.
Our guest Hugh Salter, again, as I like to describe it, and do it with great honor and respect, a graduate of WWII, got his doctorate, as it were, in survival and in defense of this country. Richard Snow, the other guest joining us by phone, a measureless peril. As we, of course, approach Memorial Day, Richard, it's easy to get a little maudlin here, but there is something I think that we recognize here and have come to recognize over the past randomly 10 years. There was a great sacrifice, still is being provided in Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. There is still a great sacrifice. I'm going to once again ask the question of both of you, and I'm going to start with you, Richard. The country, do we comprehend the importance of this moment?
You know, the present is such a bully. You're always so tied up in the matters of the moment that it's sometimes hard to look back and imagine the past, which we think had to work out the way it did. So it's particularly valuable to remember that for half of this war we could have lost it, and might well have if it weren't for people like Mr. Salter. And also, I would say, especially around Memorial Day, if you know anyone who's listening there has a friend or a relative who was part of this really titanic and world-changing experience, talk to them about it. You'll be so glad you did.
That's all the more reason why I'm so pleased to have you in here. This is important.
We're dying about 1,500 a day also.
Well, it's not only that. The loss of this greatest generation is important, Hugh, but more importantly is the voice of this generation, because I go back to that question. I've asked it like 4 times so far today. Do we really get it? You represent a generation, you represent a people, if you will, that I think more than anything tells the story that makes this country so unique. Mm-hmm. So my question to you, Hugh, recognizing, again, I'm a baby boomer, as is Richard, do you think that we're beginning to comprehend? And do you understand it?
I think so, yeah. I'll be 89 in September, so I've had listened to a whole lot between the war, when the war was over, and today, till today. And it makes you feel good when somebody knows that you're in World War II and it says, thank you for what you've done,
And we definitely do. To Hugh Salter,
I certainly do, yes.
To Hugh Salter and to our guest, the author of A Measureless Peril, Richard Snow, to both of you, thank you very much. Richard, thank you for telling a great story. I might add, some of Hugh's background and experience appears in another book, Bloodstained Sea, the U.S. Coast Guard and the Battle of the...
Oh, yes, that's an excellent book. I wish I'd had more room to write about the Coast Guard. There's just so much happened over such a long time. But it's a great honor to be on the air with you. Thank you very much. Richard, stay with me and talk to you after the show. Hugh, likewise, thank you, sir, for your contributions. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you for the opportunity.